Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over every faction change in Kill Team 3rd edition. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Did you find it useful? What did you think of all the changes? And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But let's get on with the video. So in this video, there'll be a summary of every major change for every faction with the new edition. I still recommend checking out my faction guides and reviews, as they will give a more thorough view, whereas I'm just trying to hit the main points in this guide. Like, I won't really talk about the new equipment too much, and it, as I said, it covers the most important big changes. This is just a way for me to cover every faction in case you just don't want to watch all the individual faction guides and reviews I'll do, because I will be doing individual reviews of every faction that has been updated. So that's 25 more videos for me. So for general changes, if you had Relentless, it's now Ceaseless, unless otherwise mentioned. Grenades lost Seek, which was indirect, and now all have Saturate. Pistols are all 8-inch range, unless they were 3-inch range, such as with Melter pistols. All leader operatives cap at +3 to hit, unless they were armed with weapons that normally hit on 2s for that faction, i.e. flamers, shotguns for scouts, that kind of stuff. Damage negation as a whole is now changed to -1 damage on a 5-up versus attacks of 3 or more damage. Astartes now is double fight, double shoot for free, and they can counteract for conceal. So this is all kinds of Space Marines and Chaos Space Marines. All Astartes are now 14 wounds, sans Phobos. And all Eldari teams are movement 7 instead of 6. So those are the general changes which I won't really touch upon. So if you've skipped around, you'll miss all this. And remember, everything will be timestamped. So if you want to check out a particular faction, that will all be in the episode description. First up, we have Kommandos. War grants balance now instead of turning a normal into a crit if you had 2 or more successes, normal successes. So in my opinion, it's a buffed. Other Kommandos thinks it's a nerf. Seeker Git is gone, so you can't afford deploy anymore. That's just a general thing. Shush is not usable on turning point 1, so you still get that free dash for everyone, but you can't use the turning point 1. The knob is now 14 wounds from 13 and is free APL, and the +1 APL ability is now an APL to use. It's also a 5-up save instead of a 4-up, so he got +1 wound but -1 arm save, but is now base free APL, so that's pretty good there. The sniper is down 1 attack but up 1 damage, has once per game silent, but all its profiles are heavy, so it's gotten a lot less mobile, but it has more damage. Boys get 1 free stun and 1 free smoke grenade per turning point. The Breacher gained an attack, but now hits on 4s, it used to on 3s. Can create breach points anyone can use for moving through terrain, and it can do it for free while moving. And by anyone, I mean the opponent as well as yourself. The Burner Boy now has a 4-inch Seek Light profile, so it still has a normal 8-inch flamer, but it has the ability to ignore light terrain if shooting within 4. The Bomb Squig is now 6 dice, it has no piercing and is now 4/5. It explodes on 1d6 or 2d6 with a 4+ roll. Like you can choose which, if you want to use 1d6 or 2d6. Currently, as per current wording, can survive exploding somehow. Don't think that's intentional, but currently the Bomb Squig doesn't blow up when it blows up. The rocket went up to 6 dice from 5. Ceaseless profile is heavy dash, so that used to be just couldn't move, then you could get Relentless. It now has blast 1-inch but lost piercing 1 and splash 1. The slasher inflicts D3 damage if it survives combat automatically, instead of having to roll a 4-up to do 2 mortal wounds, and now has lethal 5-up in melee. The dynamite is 5 attacks, so it used to be 4, but it hits on 4s, used to hit on 3s with a 4-inch range, heavy reposition, so you can't reposition and dash, and a 4/5 damage with no piercing, because it used to be 5/6, piercing 1. So it's technically gotten worse, but has gone up in dice. And choppers can go in every operative, but are still limited to 3 attacks unless they are already armed with them. So Kommandos overall have become a little bit more shooty, but it's an interesting set of changes. They still have some melee, but they're definitely more of a mixed kill team with a more of a focus on shooting. Death Corps. So they have a new name. They used to be Veteran Guardsmen. Now they're Death Corps, and most of their operatives have been renamed as a result. Instead of taking a trooper or 4 troopers, each time you can make a strategic or firefight ploy 0 CP. So for example, if you dropped 1 trooper, you'd go down to 13 activations, but then you could make one of your strategic or firefight ploys free, and you can do that up to 4 times. You gain Seek and Destroy, so you're not just security anymore. Orders only affect operatives within 6 inches of the leader and can't be kill team wide anymore, so you can't bounce them around the team. Although you do have an interesting firefight ploy that gives one single operative every order. They become a super guardsman. Orders have been tweaked, so there's no more auto-rotain. That's just balanced in melee, I believe, and take aim is now balanced at a reroll once. Clear the line is changed, but regroup does the same thing for 3 dashes, only with bigger restrictions. So basically the entire kill team can't do 3 dashes anymore, but when you use regroup, you select a friendly operative and everyone within 5 inches can do a 3 dash that has to end closer towards enemy territory. So they can still have some mobility, but nowhere near as dominating as they used to be. Leaders can, well, the leader can still take a plasma pistol and power weapon, but now hits on 4s with their plasma pistol. So, you know, you can still take the plasma pistol and power weapon, it's just worse. Bruiser and Veteran are now 4 attacks, they used to be 3 each. The Sniper has once per game silent for some reason, and a weaker mobile profile, because before it could just use its normal profile while engaged and move around. But the Sniper's take a bit of a nerf. The Spotter has buffed Mortimer Barrage, so it's now 5 attacks, but it's got +1 damage. Spot gives Seek Light and ignores Obscurity, but it's no longer GA2, so your opponent has a way to react around it. Zealot has rerolls to defense dice for itself, and then gives Severe to a friendly operative, I believe within 3. So all of a sudden, you can make someone quite reliable just automatically. Hand axes go on everyone and are 3 attacks, hitting on 4s, 3-4. Unfortunately, you still can't throw the hand axes. And unfortunately, they also lost the Rosary and Chronometron. So they lost their basically just a scratch and their ability to reroll initiative. So Deathcore definitely have taken hits. They're a lot weaker. They're still solid, but in this meta especially, they're not that great. So I think they've finally taken justified changes. It's just a shame it took a new edition to rein them in so much. Then we come to Pathfinders. My boys! They've done so much to my boys! They're 12 operatives again, but the recon drone now costs 2 operative slots. So if you take the recon drone, you're down to 11 operatives. They gained infiltration, so they're no longer just recon. Markalites lost the +1 ballistic skill ability, and you can only have a maximum of 4 now, but they are only lost when an operative does a dash, charge, fallback, or reposition, but they can only lose 1 per turning point. So if your opponent is activated or turtling up, they're actually not really going to lose Markalites, which is a fair trade-off, I guess. Recon Sweep now only works on one of your kill zone edges of your choice, but they all have to follow the same thing. So you could pick the left kill zone edge, the right kill zone edge, your kill zone edge, your opponent kill zone edge, but they have to start and end those dashes wholly within that kill zone edge. So you can now use it turning point 1. It just only works down 1 flank, which is okay. Then Savior Protocols is now Firefight Ploy, which is very depressing because that used to be a free ability on drones. A Worthy Cause changed to just 1 CP for immediate free mission action. So it's no longer you just go like, I don't care about rolling initiative. Just means if you end the turning point on an objective, you can spend 1 CP to secure it depending on the mission, then die, which is more thematic. The Shazui lost -1 mission action ability because before when activated, you could give someone within 3 -1 to do a mission action. Kaon is now free Markalites for Conceal, so if you're on Conceal, you can Markalite for free, which is good, turning point 1. Monkar is now just +1 move, so never use Monkar, it just sucks. The Blood had lost its 4+ save, but has permanent silent and can use the opposite Art of War when Art of War is active. So for example, if you've activated Kaon, the Blooded could then do Montcar and vice versa. So the Blooded is still good. It's just a shame it lost its 4 save. It still has its bionic arm, which is good. The drone controller cannot forward deploy a drone anymore, which is depressing, but it's fine. Everyone can't do that. The Marksman has permanent silent as well, but its silent profile only does 3-4 damage with no devastating. Still has piercing 1, but in general, the Marksman ignores modifiers to its ballistic skill. The Shazla can now GA2 and can Markalite while in control range, which is a choice. it's interesting. The Transpectral has to spend an action point to ignore Obscuring, so it no longer just innately ignores Obscuring, and it still has its ability to give someone -1 APL if it's on engage for an action point. So you're kind of now choosing, do you want to make someone -1 APL, or do you want to ignore Obscurity? So the Transpectral is worse. Ions are capped at 4/5 damage no matter what profile you use, and lost piercing when it goes hot. When it goes hot, all you gain is lethal 5-up, really. The Ions got hit hard. Like, if they could still go 5/6, or even like 5/5, that'd be great. But Ions have been smacked around. Like, it should have been piercing 1. It's not even piercing 1 when hot. It's just piercing 1 crits. It should have been piercing 1 lethal 5-up when hot, but whatever. The Recon Drone can now Marker Light somehow. Like, it just has a Marker Light, and it gives everyone within 3 inches with Analyze, which also lost rerolls, and GA2. So basically, if the Recon Drone Marker Light someone, it gives a Marker Light token to the target and everyone within 3 inches. The issue is Analyze is gone, so you can't GA2 and you don't get balanced. The Burst Cannon is -1 attack dice, but it's heavy reposition. All drones lost fly. That is the biggest thing. They just hover but move normal speed. The Pulse Accelerator drone is probably the best buff drone now. It gives severe and lethal 5-up to every pulse weapon within 3. It's actually really good. The High Intensity Marker Light is once per turning point equipment, sans the Marker Drone. Same for Targeting Optics. So this is the biggest issue. If you could do High Intensity Marker Light twice per turning point, I think it would be okay. But the way Pathfinders have been gutted is... we'll get more into it later, the review. I see what they wanted to do, and it's fine. I think if they just made High Intensity Marker Lights twice per turning point instead of once, that would have been fine. It's same with Targeting Optics. The team is just a lot worse now, but way more. They even lost the ability to Marker Light on guard, which may come as an FAQ, but Pathfinders really aren't good. Novitiates only have 3 acts of faith now. They can reroll a dice for 1 act of faith. They can change a normal to a crit, either as any kind of one, for 2, or can turn a failed into a normal for 3. You gain faith points based on half of the operatives alive. So you do technically get a lot less, but you get a lot more if you keep staying alive, which is good. There are no more infinite range pistols. You've lost your ability to just believe you have no range. Then Defenders of the Faith is 1 CP, and it no longer gives you shoot and fight first on objectives. It just gives you bonus to fighting on objectives. So it's way more thematic and just said like, I have 3 operatives on objectives. Now I'm just going to fight and shoot you before the turn starts. Blinding Aura is now a firefight ploy, so you still get it, but it's a firefight ploy. So you can only use it once per turning point. You can't just use it infinite times. The leader can't GA2 anymore, but is 9 wounds and gains faith points upon killing. So she's lost the ability to group activate, but is tougher because she's a full sister, and, as I said, gains 1 faith point on killing someone with 11 wounds or less, and gains 2 if they kill someone with 12 wounds or more. So it's a nice trade. All Novitiates now generally hit on 2s with their pistols or combat blades, unless they're a specialist. Actually, sisters have gone a lot worse in accuracy because they are just nuns in training. So the Condemner retains permanent silence, still hits on 3s with its gun, lost ability to limit APL generation. So it's a bit worse, but that APL blocking didn't make much sense. It's better against Psychos, but that's just a really, really situational thing. The Dialogus now hits on 3s. Well, no, Dialogus actually hits on 4s in combat, but gives a reroll bubble on top of its comms ability. So you can spend an action point to also give a reroll ability, like where it just picks someone within 3 and everyone basically can reroll an attack dice because she's just like hype. She's the hype woman of the century. The Exactor only grants +1 move when whipping, but allows the selected operative to double fight. So not only do you give them +1 APL, but they can now double fight, which is really crazy. Militants now refund faith points if acts of faith are used when they incapacitate someone. So if you take your normal warriors and you used an act of faith or more, you're still limited to the old changes of acts of faith, so you can only use, I believe, just the reroll and then another one. You can't just start changing multiple fails or normals. But if you use any when you use a normal warrior and they kill someone, you get those faith points refunded. The Penitent on its own can double fight, but it doesn't double fight if you whip it. So like you can't quadruple fight if you whip it. It just double fights, which is good. The Preceptor gets faith points on kills and gives a bubble of severe. So you get some more bonus from that, your other mace lady. The Pronatus now gains faith points based on the turning point when doing a mission action. So if it does a mission action to secure an objective turning point 2, you gain 2 acts of faith and so on. Oddly, it's really hard to do basically the mission actions turning point 1 unless you're playing recon, so you're generally not getting faith points from her turning point 1. The Pegasus lost Dagger Dash, so they can't dash and shoot, which is really good for everyone in the game. You can still take 2, but they're buffed flamers, you know, they've been changed, but they can't Dagger Dash. The Relicarius gives faith points based on the turning point when controlling an objective. So you need to do this mission action, well, unique action while on an objective, and you get faith points equal to the turning point. So you now probably take her, sit her on the backfield objective, just passively generating you faith points. And auto chastisers actually hurt now, but they don't give ceaseless. So that was covered in the Warhammer community article. Auto chastisers actually work as per the name. Novitiates are very weird. They are less confusing to play. And technically, as long as you play it right, you will never run out of faith points because you now generate so much. But they do hit a lot worse and they are more fragile. The interesting thing, they do have a damage negation ploy that just always works because they're all 7 wounds. So they have that trade-off there, but you know, if you overwhelm them enough, they will just die. As in, like, their damage negation ploy works every attack action. So like it's always active, but if you just overwhelm them, they explode. But they're still quite good, and your leader got better because they've now treated her as a full Sisters of Battle, which is appropriate. She is. Then you've got Legionaries. They used to be Legionary. Now they're Legionaries. Marks can be taken in any combination. There's no limitations. So like if you take Khorne, you can't take Slaanesh, which may change. I probably should. So Khorne gives severe in melee. Nurgle gives -1 normal damage on a 3 or more on a 5-up. Slaanesh is +1 move. Tzeentch is severe on shooting, and Undivided gives you ceaseless when attacking within 6 inches. They're all a lot better sans Nurgle because Nurgle was too good because it turned a normal into a crit save. But it's very, very powerful, and the fact you can just mix and match is so strong. So they are down from 10 strategy ploys to 4, and all 4 give extra bonuses based on a specific chaos mark. So now you just have, like, a lot of the ploys are combined. So you have a ploy that gives you -1 to be hit in close combat. Then if you're Slaanesh and moved, you get -1 to hit when they shoot at you. You have a ploy that ignores being injured. And then if you are Nurgle, you also downgrade piercing by 1 to a minimum of 0. There's a shooting one that gives punishing on your guns. And then if you're Tzeentch and ready, if you roll a crit save, you can turn a fail into a normal save. And then Khorne, well, there's a ploy that gives you +1 damage the first time you strike, and if you're Khorne, you just get flop +1 damage to both of your profiles. Nothing for Undivided, which is a bit of a shame. And you only have 4 firefight ploys. Veterans of the Long War is gone, so you no longer have the ability to re-roll just completely redo a fight action or shoot action if it fails. So you actually are a little bit less accurate, but I think the trade-off, considering how this team has been refined, makes sense. The Chosen now heals 3 + D3 when killing or striking with a lethal hit. Enemy operatives don't fall back on a 3-up. So it's still 4/7 lethal 5-up, but basically the Chosen is really, really good. I like the Chosen a lot. I've been speaking to some Legionary players who have the rules, and like they still prefer the Aspiring Champion. Aspiring Champion is unchanged, but I really like the Chosen. That healing basically means he just never dies. Then you've got, well, I also like that you can't fall back on a 3-up. The Anointed is now just fixed -1 damage from any source of 4 or more when it's awakened, but it can open doors, although it still can't do any mission action. So it's figured out how to open doors. No longer can it be trapped in a room of despair. The Balefire can no longer buff others or itself, so it can't give itself like lethal 5-up. And it's lost its mortal wound output, so it's lost like all its splash and stuff. But it's basically a walking healer. So with its shooting and melee, every time you resolve a success, you heal 1 damage to someone within 6. If it's a crit, you heal D3. So the Balefire, you still take, but it's really, really good at being a walking healing person. And unfortunately can't get Khorne because it really, really will like Khorne because in melee it has rending, 3/4 rending instead of being 3/0 mortal, or 3/3 mortal wounds too. The Balefire is a little less offensive, powerful, but is a great healer. The Butcher lost its control range bubble of 2 inches, but can free charge for 2 inches at the end of every enemy action / counter action. So you have ways around like multi-charging, but you have to charge. So you can't just like move 2 inches. You have to be able to do a legal charge. So there's some interesting play when you're fighting like horde teams. Heavy gunners are all heavy reposition, which means no more charge, fight, shoot, because a reposition doesn't include a charge. The Reaper chain cannon lost 1 dice, but is punishing. But unlike other guns, it didn't go up damage. So it didn't go to 4-5, it just stays at 3-4. And the heavy bolter can't double shoot. Chaos Space Marines don't know how to double shoot the heavy bolter, which would probably be crazy considering Tzeentch, but it is what it is. The Icon Bearer now just gives +1 CP per turning point if it's alive. So you're always taking an Icon Bearer. I've actually made a new Icon Bearer because I really like Icon Bearers. Then warriors can change their marks when they activate, so they are super powerful. Like all warriors can go like start the game on Nurgle, then turning point 2, they can switch to Khorne or they can switch to Tzeentch. They're really, really flexible and really, really good. Grizzly Mark is gone, but now everyone has Malefic Blade, so everyone is, if you take Malefic Blades as an equipment, everyone's 5 attacks, hitting on 3 is 3-5, which is really good when you've got like bulk gun warriors, especially stacking with Khorne or your melee ploy. And then Warded Armor is now a 2+ save, which you give out once per turning point as Strategic Gambit. So every turning point you pick someone to have a 2-up armor save. So Legionaries have lost Grizzly Trophy, they've lost Veterans of the Long War, but they're more refined. Every operative is really, really useful. Sans really the heavy gunners because they can't charge, fight, shoot. They can only reposition and shoot, so they've actually lost a lot of flexibility and can't double fire. But oh my gosh, the team is so good now, especially as now everyone's 14 wounds. An amazing team. Corsair Voidscared can take the gunner and heavy gunner together, but not with the blaster and Wraith Cannon. So you could take the blaster and Shuriken Cannon, or Shredder and Wraith Cannon, but you can't take the blaster and Wraith Cannon on the same kill team. You lost Seek and Destroy, but gained Infiltration, which actually isn't too bad considering how this game works now. Rifles now gives Accurate 1 as long as you didn't move before shooting, sans dash. So you could dash and then shoot and have Accurate run with your Shuriken rifles and Sniper Rifle. Well, you can't do it with the Sniper Rifle, but because you can't, it's just as heavy. But it's some interesting avenue if you are taking rifles. Plunderers is now D3 operatives to do a free dash, but it's unusable turning point 1. And if you do use that free dash, then you can't dash during the turning point. It's better for stuff like melee operatives or keeping people safe. You've got a ploy that gives balance versus enemy operatives contesting objectives / your markers. So the biggest thing, this team now has access to kill team wide balance, which is all they really needed. Light Fingers has changed to allow mission actions while within control range. Before it lets you to do a mission action for 1 AP less. Now you just do them and you can do mission actions in control range, which is good because a lot of teams can't do this. Well, no one really can in general. The leader lost the ability to group activate, but can potentially shoot or fight first, as like when someone's activated, if you roll higher than their APL, you don't change your order, but after an action which they moved or whatever, you can either do a free shoot or free fight. So someone charges you and you roll higher than their APL, you fight first, and if you're on engage after they activate, well, after they do an action, you can shoot them. But then if you do so, you're at -1 APL, and can do a free 1 AP action instead of dash. So instead of doing the free dash like everyone else in the kill team, your leader could move, mission action, dash, or like charge, mission action, shoot, or charge, fight, shoot. So, you know, very flexible. The Fate Dealer has permanent silent, but also has a mobile profile. And if you use the permanent silent, you just have heavy, so you can't dash or reposition. And it's lost super conceal, so you don't have a way to take that. Both gunners are now 4/5 damage and 4 dice, but Blaster is still AP2, whereas the Shredder is Torrent 2 instead of Blast, so the Blaster's a lot weaker, used to be 5/6. Both heavy gunners are heavy dash, so they don't have heavy reposition, or just heavy. The Kurnathi can dash while with remaining charge move after charge, so if it charges 6 inches, kills someone, it can then now dash another 3 inches because it's movement 7 base. But if you dashed 8 inches, you could only dash 1 inch. So you do get use of that free dash situationally after you charge and kill someone. The Kernite Hunter has a free interrupt as a strategic gambit and can fight first fire as bird. So you pick someone within 9 inches, and then after the operative does an action in which it moves, you can change your order and either move closer towards them or charge them. So very, very powerful. And if you haven't used your bird as a shooting attack, that turning point, you can fight first before the attacker as the defender. So the Kernite Hunter is really, really good. The Shade Runner can teleport through Gallo Dark Walls, which, while thematic, is absolutely broken because the slicing attack now always does D3 plus 2 damage during a reposition. So you can move 3 inches through a wall, hit someone for 3 to 5 damage, and then finish your move back. So the Shade Runner is kind of crazy, but you can't do the slicing attack while charging. Warriors can do Capricious Flight and Light Fingers for 0 CP, so they can fall back for 1 AP and do Light Fingers to the mission actions within control range for 0 CP. So Warrior is actually pretty useful depending on the mission and opponent. The Wayseeker's had its Freezing Grass change to a shooting attack, so it doesn't just slow someone, it just stuns someone if it hits them, but it can fire silent. And Lightning Strike lost Piercing 1, but is now 2-inch Devastating 2, and so it's a bit better on Into the Dark. And Warding Shield is currently old just a scratch. So you pick someone, and the first time they take damage, you can choose to ignore 1 damage from any hit. So someone could hit you for 6 damage, 8 damage, you can ignore it with Warding Shield. So Warding Shield is very powerful and currently the only ability in the game that can ignore a normal or a crit, which I don't think will last, but we'll see. And then they lost Corsair Blades as equipment, so no one is 3-4 in melee. And they don't have plasma grenades anymore, so you don't have 3-4 grenades. You're forced into taking silly Monkai frag grenades, which is a bit disappointing, but considering how strong Corsairs are overall, it's a really good trade. Phobos Strike Team, they lost Recon, so you're just Infiltration and Seek and Destroy. Terror is always active now, so you don't have to tell your opponent, like, it's 0 action points, but I'm going to say it's always active. It is just always active, same ability. Everyone is movement 7, which is really, really good. The only downside is your 12 wounds, which sucks because Slanesh Legionnaires are just laughing at you. They're just going, look at 7 wounds, 7 move for 12 wounds. Look at me, I'm 7 move with 14 wounds. But you'll accept that. You've lost Vanguard and Piercing one-shots for strategy deploys, so they have something else for that. So they've lost the ability to give everyone basically Piercing 1 on a crit. Leaders lost ability to generate command points, but instead reroll the dice for initiative. This is a nerf. I mean, while controlling the initiative was great, you would have preferred the free command points. Comms doesn't do 1 AP free mission actions for someone anymore, but can generate another CP on a 4+ each turning point, and can switch between strategy deploys for free. So basically, if your comms on the board, when you get a command point on a 4-up, you get another command point. And what the switching means is if you've paid a CP for 1 strategy deploy, when someone activates, you can, for that activation, switch it to a different strategy deploy for free during their activation, which is okay. But interestingly, if you go second, you have 2 chances to generate 2 command points. So the comms is just gambling. Warriors all have Vanguard, so no matter what kind of warrior, Infiltrator, Incurser, Reaver Warriors, which lets them do 1 mission action / pickup action for 1 AP less. So good if you're taking normal warriors. The Haywire Mine has reduced range to control range. It used to be a 3-inch bubble and does 2d3 plus 3 damage instead while still stopping actions. So before it used to do 4 attacks hitting on 2s, 2/4 lethal 4-up. Now it's just 2d3 plus 3. So at most it's doing a lot less damage. It's not likely to kill, but it's likely to hurt and will still stop actions. It's better like controlling access points and doorways on Into the Dark. So it is a lot worse. Reavers all have grab shoots and grapnels built in for easier climbing and free dropping. So before you used to always take like 2 Reavers, you're probably taking more Reavers. The team's still really, really good. Like they still have their delay. Like this is only changes. So if I haven't mentioned anything, nothing else has changed. So their equipment is slightly more interesting, but like for example, they can take up to like 6 grenades because they can take 4 extra utility grenades. So they can take 6 grenades in total, which is really, really good. Although I would have liked their warriors to also get free smoke and stun, but I guess they wanted to limit it. Phobos Strike Team are still really, really good, but in my opinion, they're the weakest elite team, which is saying something because they're still amazingly powerful. Then you've got Blooded. They gained Infiltration finally, so they're no longer just Seek and Destroy. They cannot select both the Plasma Pistol on leader and the Plasma Gunner on the same team, so you may want to either take the Plasma Pistol or the Plasma Gunner. I'm in the Plasma Gun camp, but some people prefer the Plasma Pistol leader. Your strategy deploys as a whole are more useful, like They give more rerolls, some give ceaseless, some give relentless, so you actually have a reason to use your strategy ploys. Dark Favor has a range of 3 instead of 2 inches, so it's just get down Mr. President, and it works in close combat. The Brimstone Grenadier has a more damaging explosive demise, and the Diabolic Bomb is also, in addition to its old rules, is now 4-3 damage with Devastating 2 and Piercing 1, but it did lose Splash. But it is now, instead of 3-3 with Splash 2, it's now 4-3, Devastating 2, so 2 extra damage on every crit with Piercing 1. So I think it's better, really good. The Commsman can now generate a blooded token for an action point if it has one itself. So if you give it a blooded token turning point 1 and it uses action, it will generate you another. The Enforcer ignores all injury modifiers, so just makes everyone in the bubble move and shoot normally. And the Enforcer allows firing on full ballistic skill, so you can now just fire as much to your heart content without -1 and then stacking -1. The Ogryn can now open doors and is +1 AP to do other mission actions or the pickup action, so no longer can't do those actions. The Sharpshooter can mark an enemy operative for it to have Gaze of the Gods versus them for the entire game, and also has permanent silence, so for some reason it has a better long-last sniper than the Veteran Guardsman, which I don't understand, but I accept completely. The Trench Sweeper is now 9 wounds, but shielding only benefits itself. So it's funny because if you give it a shield, it will have a shield carrying its shield go up to a 3-up armor save, rerolling the saves are free, going down to a 2-inch move. Hilarious. Give him the portable shield. Sinister Trophies now just stops rerolls within 2 inches of ones if that friendly operative has a blooded token, so it's no longer -1 attack in close combat. That's a bit of a nerf, but generally as a whole, they've gained so much more. Blooded were already a good kill team. Now they're one of the top kill teams in the game. Really, really good for Blooded. Now we get onto the White Dwarf team. So for Hunter Clade, they can now take all 3 gunners again, but you lost the ability to go up to 11 operatives. So you can take the Plasma, the Stun Gun, and the Sniper, the Aquabus. The Protector and Conqueror imperatives now give Ceaseless instead of Balance. So instead of having Balance, you now get Ceaseless. They lost the ability to forward deploy. The Infiltrator Princeps now gives Super Conceal Bubble of a 3-inch. So actually more useful if you want to take them. Note, you're still capped at taking 5 Sicarans as a whole, so you can't take like extra Sicarans, like more than normal operatives. The Ranger and Vanguard Alphas lost the ability to group activate, but buff shooting or melee depending on the operative. So for example, if you take the Ranger, it buffs shooting by giving lethal 5 up to someone if they don't move, whereas the Vanguard is better in melee because it increases the rad saturation effect by -1 attack on people fighting within 3 inches. Control Edict is now a firefight ploy that only works on a max of 1 Sicaran, so if you wanted to group activate, you can. It costs you a command point, but you can't pick 2 Sicarans anymore. You could pick a Sicaran and a Gunner, which makes it a lot less useful, but still you have it. The Rangers now get lethal 5 up if they don't move before shooting any weapon, but then can move after. So the guns are 3-4 piercing 1 crits. So they actually are quite useful now. So you may see a switch to more Rangers, and they're a lot better on the Gunners because the Gunners, especially your Arc Rifle, now gets lethal 5 up, so it's more likely to stun. So very, very useful for taking your Gunners as well as normal Troopers as Rangers. Then the Ranger Galvanic Rifles are now heavy reposition, so you can heavy move. Like you can reposition heavy. So they're actually way more mobile, but they can't dash. You finally get grenades when the addition removes Seek from them, so the grenades are useless, effectively. And they have a rad bombardment equipment, which is once per game for either one opponent's objective in their territory, or everyone in their drop zone. And on a 4-up, they take -1 PL, -1 APL, depending on modifiers. Like if they're underneath a vantage point, it works on a 5-up. If they're in the open, it's on a 3-up. And if you roll a 6, you also do D3 damage. They've lost Optimized Gate. Optimized Gate is gone. So I actually don't know if you will take much. Like on dense boards, this team now sucks because you have 5 operatives with 40 mil bases. So it's going to be, you're actually going to have to remember how to pay to climb stuff if you're a Sicaran, like a Ruststalker. So it's better for everyone else, but Hunter Clade are good. I think they're like solid B tier. I was worried they'd be way too good, but the moment they're just still completely balanced in a good way, which is nice to see. Next, we have Warp Coven, so they can take up to 2 Gunners now with Warp Flamers. So you can't have 2 Soul Reaper Cannons. You can have 2 Warp Flamers, though, which is very interesting considering they're now 4-4 damage. Boons are redone, and each sorcerer can select 1 unique one each. So there are, I believe, like 9 or 12 to take from. You can downgrade piercing by 1 to a minimum of 0 for a strategic ploy or a strategy ploy, which is amazing. You have 3 different sorcerers to take now. You no longer have one fixed one and then you just pick their lore. They all come with built-in laws. So you've got a Destiny sorcerer, a Temperian sorcerer, and a Warp Fire sorcerer. So they all share the same profile, and if you make one of them your leader, they go from 14 to 15 wounds. But it just basically means you can't take like multiple of the same. So it's just tidied thing up. Then you've got the Soul Reaper cannon. It lost an attack die, so it's gone from 6 to 5, but it's now 4/5 with a torrent mode from 3/4, which kind of makes the Soul Reaper cannon jealous, but I guess it's because Warp Coven can't take a heavy bolter, whereas Legionary can, so it's just a bit strange. All Rubric Marines are now 5-inch move and a 2-up save. They still have that 9-inch restriction for the APL. And remember, if you move out of your sorcerer range during your activation, you will immediately lose that APL, so be careful. Rubric Icon Bearer now just works like a normal icon, gives no benefits to sorcerers, it just literally stands there like an icon, which is strange. The Rubric Warriors gain Ceaseless if they haven't charged or repositioned before shooting, which is really good if you're in position and then just double fight, then reposition away. The Zangor Champion now has 10 wounds instead of 8 and hits on 3s instead of 4. All other Zangors are now 9 wounds base, which is crazy. And the Zangor Icon Bearer provides damage negation for all Zangor within 3 inches. And then one Zangor Warrior can do the mission action or pickup action for 1 AP less if it's within opponent's territory. Not wholly within, just has to be within. So you can have a thing where you move up to do like, you know, recon and stuff, or steal an enemy's point, especially if they're your banner. So very, very interesting. Warp Coven are exceedingly good. They do have some weaknesses, but I think they're just incredibly durable. Like one of your Psychers can heal. One of them still is very good at shooting. They've lost the ability to like minus movement from the board, which is not surprising. But Warp Coven are, in my opinion, one of the best teams in the game. Void Dancer Troupe. They lost Seek and Destroy, so they have very sad clown noises. The Gunners are gone. They're just baked into player profiles. So you no longer have like gunner players. They're just players. They can still take a fusion pistol or a Nero pistol, but you're capped at 1 of each per kill team. Say-defs are simplified and reduced. You only have the epic and melodrama available now. The Void Dancer Troupe have forgotten how to dance 4 other modes, but it does make it easier to track and remember, and they have been changed slightly as well, but they still do the same things. They don't have fly, but they only climb for a maximum of 1 inch, so they have inbuilt ladders, so they can climb anything for 1 inch. That's how good those Harlequins are, but it looks like they drop normally, because it only mentions climbing, so they still pay more for dropping, which is fine, I guess. And they can move within control range of enemy operatives, but they must end those moves legally. So you could charge through control ranges, or you could move through control ranges, but then you have to not end in control range. So they're actually way more mobile and actually have a balanced version of fly, which is all I was asking for the entire last edition. So I'm very happy to see this. Domino Field is changed. It's replaced with a firefight ploy called Elusive Target that grants Super Conceal instead. Domino Field itself is a firefight ploy now that gives minor shooting defense. So no longer can your entire team have Super Conceal, only one single operative it has. So Void Dancer Troupe are going to have to play a little bit more differently. The Death Jester has heavy reposition with a heavy dash profile and torrent mode for its Shuriken cannon. It has Humbling Cruelty now lasts until the start of the next activation, or activation of the operative that is affecting, and is effectively super injury. So the Death Jester get buffed in a way. The players can do once per turning point a firefight ploy or the command reroll for 0 CP once per game. So every turning point, one player can do one of those for free, but then can never do it again for the rest of the game, which just effectively gives you free CP. The Shadow Seer has permanent Seek hallucinogen grenades and otherwise works the same. And your support grip and prismatic grenades are gone. So you've lost your improved Eldari stun frag grenades, and you've lost the support grip. So now, you know, the Death Jester, if you want to move and shoot, like move up, shoot, and then move away, you're going to have to spend a CP for your movement ploy, which finally gives that ploy a reason. So Void Archer Troupe are a lot better, but I think they're a lot fairer, which is really good. For Wyrmblade, Familiar Territory is a new ability which lets you set up 1/3 of your kill team in hiding, except for cult agents, and they set up within 6 inches of your drop zone and more than 6 inches from enemy operatives. They all have to be deployed by the end of turning point 2 or they die, so it works kind of like the Tempestus Quillen, but you know, in terms of how they deploy is quite limited. If they're a normal warrior, they lose their GA2, so you have ways to stall out. You have a new strategy deployed that lets up to 3 operatives dash, but if a co-agent is one of those operatives, they count as 2 selections, and it costs an operative 1 action point to do this. So if they do this free dash, they are at -1 APL going into the next turning point. Unquestioning loyalty is now 3 inches from 2 inches. Let's get down, Mr. President. The Locust Quicksilver Strike works once per turning point and is always active, but now it only triggers after an action in which an enemy moved, so it can't interrupt the mid-move, but it's now just always active, still only 3-inch range. Heavy Gunners have Ceaseless if they don't move, or Relentless when switching from Conceal. All weapons are now Heavy Dash, so the Heavy Gunners are finally reined in because they've lost Cumbersome. Icon Bearer has the same Act on Death ability as the Broodbrother Icon Ward, which is great because I love seeing that ability everywhere just for free. The fact it's not an action point to use really annoys me. And then the Sanctus Sniper has permanent silent, but if it is, it's stationary. And then the Sanctus Talon can do a free dash or fall back after fighting at a maximum of 3-inch movement. And then blasting charges are now 3/5 but range 4. Everyone can take Coat Knives to go to 3/4 damage and can take up to 3 mines. So if you take this equipment point, you get 2 minefields, and then you can also take the normal universal mine. So if you want to, for 2 equipment points, you could take 3 minefields, which is funny because you only get 2, but you do apparently use the card tokens for that, so you can get around that. But Wyrmblade have way more board control and the ability to punish the opponent, although you are kind of forced to come towards them, which is difficult if an opponent just starts playing defensively versus you. So still very, very good. Then we get to Elucidian Starstriders. Support assets are now silent, heavy reposition shooting actions, and you can use each one once per game with 5 to choose from. So you have 2 new ones, and only you still have the same restrictions as before as who can fire them. Undaunted Explorers now works anywhere now, so you don't have to care where you are for your damage negation. New Frontier is now called Quick March, and you cannot shoot support assets if an operative used a +1 movement, so more balance there. Vayne's Digital Laser is now changed to just do 1 automatic damage when she initiates a fight, like Scorpion's Mandy Blasters, and she gains Ceaseless if the weapon already had balanced. So if you spend a CP to give yourself balanced with, close range shooting, then you get Ceaseless instead, and she grants +1 CP or an additional warrant of trade on the first kill she does, and she's now 3 APL. She's a lot more flexible, very, very good. Although I do miss the Digital Laser just being like, here's some mortal wounds, die now. The Death Occult Assassin can strike on death with one of its remaining unresolved successes. The Electromeister's Voltgeist Field has reduced from 6-inch to 4-inch range. The Voidmaster with Shotgun now hits on 3s for some reason from 2s. Also gives balanced if an operative had Ceaseless. Las Pistol is now capped at 2/4 damage with lethal 5-up because it's a relic Las Pistol. So technically the Voidmaster got worse, which is kind of depressing. I don't know why it got less accurate with his shotgun. Voidsman can counteract to do a support asset if you haven't used one this turning point. Armored Armor Suit replaces Carapace Armor for a once per sequence 4-up save single die save. So instead of giving all your 5-up save operatives a 4-up save, they can now choose to retain one of your attack dice as they can roll one of your attack dice as a defense dice as a 4-up save. So more confusing and worse. Hot shots are now twice per turning point, but they don't work with the Relic Las Pistol. So you can make someone 3/4 on their Las Pistol or Las Gun, but it doesn't work on the Voidmaster, so you're never really taking this. And you can select equipment to fire an asset twice per game, but you lost your cool space sunglasses. So if you wanted to fire your space laser, which is still exactly the same, you have to, if you want to fire it twice, you have to take an equipment point to do so. But you lost your cool sunglasses that turned off all stun, which is depressing. I liked those sunglasses. So Starstriders are still good, but they're weaker now. I think definitely beta at least. It's just, they're still solid. They're just a lot weaker and a lot fairer to play, which is to be honest, what they needed. Oh, and I forgot to mention the Heavy Gunner lost Ceaseless. It just has Rending, and it's now 5 attacks, 4/5. So the Heavy Gunner is a bit worse, but otherwise Starstriders are still good. Then you got to Gellerpox Infected. I'm using my own Necropox because the Gellerpox models are gone. So you now get 3 different Techno Curses, with one of them still being -1 attack dice if within 2 inches, although it's only within 1 inch of Nightmare Hulks, which is depressing. Mutoid Vermin lost Fly, and enemy operatives can move through and fall back as if they are not there, which is really bad because the Mutoid Vermin are still the same speed. Nightmare Hulks can open doors for 1 action point, so they're not trapped behind the Eternal Prism of Doors, costing 2 action points to open. Blessings of Infection now change, so if instead of if your discarded dice were 3 or more, if you have 3 failed hits, you can discard them to change one of them into a hit, so that's a lot worse but still very good. Drawn to the Home is now +1 movement to a reposition or charge action to a single objective of your choice, but you must end that action within control range of that objective. So you could spend a CP, and then if you can't actually end within control range of that objective, you can't use it, so it kind of sucks. Volgar's Revolting Technology is a new firefight ploy that gives a weapon hot or makes their hot weapon worse after seeing their to hit rolls, so you can just wait to see where your opponent rolls. Volgar's Pyre is now 5 dice, but also has a Seek Light profile. It didn't go up in damage, and it lost the ability to generate a command point, but it can set Techno Curse an objective, which is okay. Volgar is now 21 wounds, all other Hulks are 20 wounds, and they have lost their 5-up damage negation. It is just every time you take damage of a 3 or more and a 5-up, it's -1 damage, so Hulks die really quickly. Mutants now do 3/4 damage instead of 2/3, and are now movement 5 instead of movement 4. So mutants are actually really, really good. The Axe one is still 4/5, but I've actually found you do more surprising killing damage with normal mutants. Glitchlings cannot perform unique actions, so you can't have a shield wall glitchling, which is sad times, so you can't have a glitchling walking around with permanent super conceal, but I now have 3 defense dice like Mutoid Vermin. Mutoid Vermin are 1 equipment point each for 2. They all share the same group activation, so no matter what combination you take, you will be a maximum of 10 activations if you take Mutoid Vermin, or if you take 4 of them, and you have to take in a piece of equipment to get 2 inches on your Techno Curse for Nightmare Hulks, which really feels bad. I understand why they reined in the kill team. The kill team plays control really, really well, but I would have liked that last piece of equipment just to be a baked-in ability. Your ability to destroy an equipment is still an equipment choice, and on a 7 or more, you roll 2d6. You pick one of your opponent's equipment pieces to destroy, but on 6 or less, they pick one of theirs to destroy. So they're really fun with a control way. They actually die really quickly in close combat, but just some field bads that they probably did deserve, but I think they've been hit just a tiny bit too hard. They're still good, but nowhere near as powerful as they were last edition. So finally, we have Angels of Death. They were Intercession Squad, but now they've been combined with Strike Force Justian. You cannot take the Eliminator Sniper and the Heavy Intercessor Gunner together, so you can take one, but not both at the same time. You can uniquely double fire the Bolt Sniper or Heavy Bolter for 3 action points in total compared to other teams. So the first time it costs 1 action point and then 2 action points to fire a second time, which is very good. Chapter tactics are tweaked. You've lost Rapid and Durable, but the other chapter tactics are better overall. They're a lot more usable. You've lost Ignore APL changes, but it's now a chapter tactic. So it used to be baked into your strategy ploy. Now it's just an APL tactic, which in my opinion, you always take. And you can switch doctrines as a firefight ploy. Assault now grants balance every time you're fighting. Otherwise, your doctrines work the same way. Your captain's Iron Halo lost the Invon, but now just gives just a scratch. So once per game, you can ignore 1 normal attack dice. He has 15 wounds, and he's the only one to on freeze with a power fist, so the captain's still solid. Sergeants are now picking a 3rd chapter tactic each game for just themselves. So you have 2 fixed chapter tactics for a game/tournament. But every time you take a sergeant, they can pick a different chapter tactic for themselves, which is actually really good. Auto bolt rifles lost Ceaseless and are now Torrent 1, which everyone kind of expected. They weren't going to keep Ceaseless with how good Ceaseless is now. Stalker bolt rifles are heavy dash, but lethal 5-up and 3/5 with piercing 1 crit, so they're a lot better. All power fists hit on 4s, which is sad times, even for Legionary and other Marines. Grenadier gets all grenades and they hit on freeze. So your Grenadier comes with crack, frag, smoke, and stun. So you can have a situation where you throw a crack and then throw a smoke and then throw a stun. So very, very good there. The Eliminator is now 12 wounds, but has movement 7 and has the stealthy chapter tactic by itself. And oddly, if you also take the stealthy chapter tactic, it stacks. So you could retain 2 crit saves or retain all the cover saves, but that's actually interesting. And it can ignore obscuring, but now that lasts until its next activation. So very, very good to just ignore obscuring. It also has a Seek Light profile and has permanent silent. So your Eliminator is crazy. Then the Heavy Intercessor, Heavy Bolter, does not have Heavy. So your Heavy Intercessor can reposition and dash 7 inches and then shoot someone in the face with a Heavy Bolter, which is very, very funny. And the Auspex is a free action when shooting, but only 8-inch range. So you still have more ways to ignore obscuring. And as you've seen with Purity Seals, if you have 2 or more failed hits, you can discard 1 to turn the other into a hit. Angels of Death are insane. I think they're actually S tier. They're so good. They're just really oppressively powerful because they're tanky. They have multiple ways to turn defense and hits from misses to hits to ensure stuff goes through to keep you alive or to kill stuff. And they can also spend a CP, well, it's for free, if they're unengaged, to do 2 1 AP actions while counteracting. So Angels of Death, despite their simplicity, are really, really powerful. Just showing you how resolute Space Marines are in general right now. We're about 55 minutes in, everybody, and we're going on to Season 2. This is going to be a long video. So for Imperial Navy breaches, the Cat and Geistgau now count as half selections for operatives. So you can't just select one. You need to select, well, you can select 2 of them for 1 choice, which is technically a buff. Close Assault is changed to punishing. So before it used to be if you had 2 or more hits, you can turn another miss into a hit. Now you have to have you get the punishing rule instead, which is a lot fairer. Brace is only -1 damage versus 4 or more damage attacks as long as you don't move or reposition or charge. Blitz is changed to give severe instead of giving an automatic crit. So that's effectively the same thing, but it's slightly different. And then Sergeant at Arms lost free order, but can now change the position each turning point. So for example, if you picked the attack order, you can now move it around the battlefield for a free ability, so they are less command point efficient. The Axejack's Wade In is now just a free ability. The Cat grants Seek Light and Ignore Obscurity instead of just turning off someone's cover as a bubble. Both the Cat and the Geistgau are 2 APL. The Skull can boost once per game to add 6 inches to its move stat, but it lost fly. The Grenadier Demolition Charge is now 3-inch range from 4-inch and has heavy reposition. The Las Volley is now -1 attack but 4/5 damage, lost rerolls, gains rending, and has a torrent profile. The Hatch Color Breach Point ability now works for enemy operatives too, so if you cut a hole for someone, the enemy operatives can use it as well. Void Jammer can blow up the skull, but it does 3/4 damage instead with lethal 5-up and stun with blast 1. So it lost its radius, it doesn't have lethal based on your armor save, and it does do more damage as a result. And stims just ignore movement penalties for being injured. So they have an equipment that lets them open doors for 1 less AP, but breaches are a lot more balanced, they're a lot fairer. The only problem, when you will see near the end of this review, is you just take them in damn Imperial Agent, Inquisitorial Agents, but they're a lot fairer, they're still solid. It's just going to be tough for them to play around, only being 7 wounds now minimum, instead of having all that extra wound goodness from stims. For Farstalker Kinband, they're now a full 12 operative/activation team. The Farstalker is a new faction ability allowing you up to flip 3 orders in the ready step of each turning point or change orders when counteracting instead of counteracting. Rogue is now a strategic ploy, like a strategy ploy, so you have to spend a CP to use it. Bound now only works on the first climb only during your activation. It doesn't work on drops as well, so Bound has been nerfed. Poach is a firefight ploy that lets a crew do a mission action on an objective they don't control as for free, so you just have to contest, which under current wording just means standing on the objective. So your opponent could, for example, have 20 APL on the point. You walk up and spend a CP for Poach, and you can now control that objective and do a mission action, which is very weird and very broken. The Kill Broker is now 4 attacks based at 4/5 damage, can bounce call the kill after the target is killed, and when you do this, you can also give a friendly operative within 6 inches accurate 1 for the rest of the battle, but you can only do this once per turning point, and that operative is only affected once per game. Well, so you can only affect the operative once per game, but you can now just keep giving it as the more your call the kill bounced. So your leader is a lot better. The cut skin can fight again at the same target if it's not incapacitated. Heavy gunner weapons are heavy reposition. The hounds remain GA1. The long sight has a once per game silent profile. The pistolier can now move and double shoot. Pertra now is just based on visibility, not range, so it can go anywhere on the table, and grants Seek Light if it's in a friendly operative's control range. So you can just pick a friendly operative and go like, you're going to get Seek Light now. So Pertra is more useful. Warriors can, once per turning point, use meat or special ammunition for free. So they can either do the piercing ammunition or the stun ammunition, which is nice, and it can oddly work with their shotguns. And trophy is once per battle instead of 2 different operatives once per game. So you only get 1 trophy now, and considering how crazy Poach is, that's very fair, because it's just crazy. But Farstalker Kinband are a lot better. They're a very solid team, and because of Poach, like, they're really abusive on loot and sabotage, as well as some other missions. They're very crazy. Like, I think they're too toxic with Poach, but they're a lot better. So I think if they just tone down Poach, Farstalker are fine, but otherwise they're really good now. Kasrkin, elite points are gone! Finally! Replaced with Skillet Arms, which work kind of like old Guardsman orders, but they are kill team wide, and they effectively did what elite points I wanted them to do. So they just let them do different things, like either bayonet shooting, more repositional ability, very good. Seize initiative lets you reroll you or your opponent's dice for initiative, so that got buffed. The leader is free APL now and can change an operative skill at arms, so you can pick one operative for the turning point to get a different skill at arms while everyone else has their own. Everyone hits on freeze now. The Melter Mind is now just 2d6 plus 3 damage within control range of a single operative. Anyone can trigger it, so don't move within your own. And then the recon, but it doesn't hit everyone, just hits one operative. The Recon Trooper makes the relocate ploy free, even if it's in Inquisitorial Agents. So you've lost the ability to get a free reposition as a scouting option, but you get the free dash ploy, the relocate. But if you're Inquisitorial Agents, you also get that as well. So I'll get onto this Inquisitorial Agents. This part shouldn't exist. You've just made this operative to go in Inquisitorial Agents. It's just dumb. Then you've got the Sharpshooter, which is once per game silent. The Trooper can do 1 smoke and 1 stun grenade per turning point. So basically, if you take a Trooper, they can do either 1 smoke or 1 stun grenade per free. If you have 2 Troopers, 1 can do a smoke, 1 can do a stun. So very good. Everyone can take combat daggers to be free 4 in melee. And foregrips just give accurate 1 when shooting within 3 inches, except for pistol weapons. So Kasrkin are actually a lot better. They're a lot more fun to play and play against. My only problem is you take them Inquisitorial Agents because they've literally been designed to be better Inquisitorial Agents. So whoever designed this or pushed this is just crazy. Doesn't understand, like, balance at all, in my opinion. But outside of that, if you ignore the Inquisitorial Agents aspect, Kasrkin are a lot more fun and I think really good. It's Hierotek Circle. Look how much I have to speak. So reanimation protocols are changed to work on every operative. So every time someone dies, they place a reanimation marker, but you can only res 1 per turning point on a free op, which is rough. So you roll for 1. If it fails, you move on to the next one. You now reanimate with D3 plus 1 wounds, and then it stacks with living metal, which also heals D3 plus 1 wounds. So you heal more. All cryptex are 14 wounds. Nanomine is now placed within visibility of the nano, like the cryptech, and it's a 12-inch bubble again for some reason, but it's only minus 2 inches to the move stat. So I believe this is capped to a minimum of minus like 4. What is this? Like, this probably will hopefully get changed to a 6-inch bubble in the day 1 FAQ, but what is this? What is this madness? The Chronometron is now just -1 attack dice when an operative attacks that friendly operative. So you've lost your shrug and your movement bonus, but now if someone's shooting you with a 4 dice attack weapon, they go down to 3, and if they're fighting you in melee, they go from 4 attacks to 3. So it's still really, really good. The Chronomancer can teleport an expended operative within 6 inches with Time Splitter. So you just pick someone and go like, okay, instead of you, you've expended, I'm going to pull you back. So your opponent does have a turning point to, an activation. So your opponent does have an activation to punish you. Nightmare Shroud from the Psychomancer is an 8-inch bubble now, and it stops rerolls and changes, stops being able to change crits, normals to crits. So you can't reroll. You can't turn normals into successes, and you can't turn, and crits get downgraded to normals. So it's a lot more powerful. The Psychomancer can delay an operative by D6 activations. Your Technomancer can repair an operative for healing them, deal 3d3 wounds, which is a lot. And you can augment weapons of a friendly operative to have 2 of either lethal 5-up, rending, saturate, or severe. So that's pretty good for the Technomancer. It also has an ability to give someone to reduce damage 3 or more by 1 every time an operative takes damage with reinforced metal. So the Technomancer is a lot better as a support piece and while buffing your ranged output, which is really, really nice. Then the Plasma Sights are now movement 7 but Lost Fly. Immortals and Deathmarks are now movement 5 from 4. You reanimate the reanimation drone, Plasma Sight. You reanimate within 6 inches on a D6 on a free up for 1 action point, or automatically for 2 action points, which is what you're going to do. And you can do it the same turning point a reanimation token is placed, but then that operative returns expended. So what you can do last activation is bring someone back who died, and then next turning point res another 2. So you really need to keep this reanimation drone safe. You don't want to die, and keep it alive as long as possible. Death marks are now 4-3 damage with Devastating 2 instead of 4-4 Devastating 1, but now also get Severe on top of old rules. They give the target a shot Seek if it's not incapacitated. So next time you're shooting at it, you can shoot it as long as you can see it, and you ignore Obscuring for 1 action point. So Death marks are a lot better, and I wouldn't be surprised if people take more Death marks now. Despotech and Immortals count as 3 APL for controlling objectives, even though they're still 2 APL. And the Tesla Weaves inflict D3 damage when charged, instead of just rolling dice to maybe inflict damage. But you have lost Enhanced Blades and Tesla equipment because they're all gone. So you've lost the ability to be lethal 5-up in close combat, and you can't increase the splash range of your Teslas. But Hierotek are still really good. I think they have to limit like the range. They have to do something with the nanomine, because literally turning point 1, you just nuke someone's drop zone with the nanomine. They can still dash out, but it's such a huge bubble. It's really, really dumb. Otherwise, Hierotek Circle are good. They're not as powerful as they were. I think they were better than they were at the end of the edition, but they're not as strong as they were at the peak of 2nd edition. So Hierotek Circle are still good. For Exaction Squad, they have Marked for Justice, which grants punishing versus target once per turning point and can bounce if you kill that target. They've lost Piercing 1 when shooting at someone within 2 inches of a friendly operative. Terminal Decree now has a 6-inch range from 4 inches to get that reroll, and gunners still work at any range. Execution Order is no longer a free. It's a free fight or shoot versus an enemy operative after they do a mission action, not open door, or control an objective at the end of the turning point. So Execution Order is a lot worse, instead of just grounding Relentless effectively. Your Proctor Exactant Combat Shotgun still hits on 2s at short range. I'm not sure if this is a typo. Doesn't seem intentional because the rest of your shotguns hit on 3s. Batons are now 2-3 damage. They finally match the power of fists. The Castigator is now 5-5 in melee from 4-4, and Arrest means no fallback for enemies if they're the only enemy operative in engagement range, control range. The Heavy Stubber is now 4-5 damage. The Weber is -1 dice, but is now 4-5 damage with 12-inch range and severe Wid stun. So the Weber is insane. The Malocator gives Severe with the Veriscant, or lethal 5-up if the operative already had Severe, so very, very good there. The Marksman is once per game silent. The gun is now 4-0 damage with Devastating 4 and can ignore Obscuring for 1 action point. The Revelatum is now free reposition but without fly, so just still is that 6-inch move. Subductors come with shot pistols as standard. Vigilance can shoot in control range if they didn't also charge. So if someone charged you and then passed, or charged and didn't kill you, you can shoot them at point blank. And then Manacles work like Nemesis Claw Chain Snares. So you roll 1d6 if your opponent has a higher wound stat than you, or 2d6 if they're the same or less. And on a single 4-up, they don't fall back. and you stop rerolls within, and Lumen's now only 2-inch range and stop rerolls of 1s instead of stopping all rerolls. And once per turning point, you can give a shotgun piercing 1 for specifically 3+ save operatives or more. So they have to have a 3-up save or better to use that ammunition, or saturate torrent 1 with a maximum of 2 targets total. So it's just not great. So Exaction Squad are weird. They're a lot better. Well, they're just the same. They've just moved slightly. They're still good, but losing that P1 as general makes them quite tough to use. And into elites, they only get 1 source of piercing 1 per turning point. So they're still good, but they're slightly worse into elites, which isn't great considering elites will likely be the meta now. Hand of the Archon, power from pain, now triggers on injuring or killing operatives. So you can get it if you injure someone, not if you just kill someone. You can now spam pain tokens to also heal D3 plus 1 wounds, and you can reroll attack defense dice of 1 result, which is very good. Rifle rules like Corsairs for accurate 1 with splinter rifles. Denizens of the Night no longer gives super conceal, it just gives a defense dice reroll, so you never use it. You don't get any more fleet of foot, which is a huge nerf to this kill team. Really huge, so you've lost your free dash. Venom Blade is now 4/5 lethal 4-up. The blast pistol is 3/4 damage, but it's gained piercing 2 instead of being piercing 1. Agents gain a pain token whenever someone else gains a pain token once per turning point. So, you know, they just generate pain tokens as a domino effect. Crimson Duelist can double fight only versus 1 operative, and Brutal Display only triggers once. The Torment Grenade now works like a stun on a 4-up. You get +1 to the roll versus armor save 4+ or worse targets, and it does D3 damage to each target, including everyone within 1, and then they take D3 more damage every time they activate, so it's technically worse. The Stinger Pistol is now changed. It's 4 attacks, hitting on freeze, 3/5, range 8, lethal 5-up, does D3 damage to everyone within 2 upon killing someone, and that scatters. So then if that D3 damage kills someone, then you do D3 damage again for everyone within 2. Hypex just ignores injury, penalty for movement. Adrenalite gives someone a pain token in each strategy phase. So it's technically a lot worse. Give us movement 8 inches, you cowards. The Flayer is now 4/5 in melee instead of 3/5. The Blaster and Shredder changes are exactly the same as the Corsair Voidscared. Your Mark now ignores Obscuring for the Sky Splinter Assassin, so not only do you get Seek Light, but you ignore Obscuring, which is really good. Chain Snares work like Nemesis Claw, so they go on everyone and they're a lot better. Your Coating to get lethal 5-up in melee is twice per turning point when you choose to fight. Refined Poison is twice per turning point, actually pretty good because it works on the Splinter Cannon as well. And the Wicked Blades gives everyone who has Wicked Blades 4 attacks army-wide. So Hand of the Archon are definitely better. They're a lot just better overall, but they're not the best. Like, you can still take a Dark Lance and Blaster. You're still capped to 2 Dark Light weapons per team, but I think they're pretty good overall. They're still good at killing Marines. They're just a bit weirder. I think the biggest thing about this kill team is losing Fleet of Foot makes them a lot slower, which hurts them a lot, but they have more access to pain tokens. But I think without Fleet of Foot, they're going to fall apart a bit because they did rely on that free agility. For Hearthkyn Salvagers, Rampart has been replaced with Engage to Acquire. That gives bonuses versus operatives on objectives or mission markers, so you can't generate extra barricades or make any terrain piece heavy. All operatives are now movement 5, so you're faster. Plasma melee weapons are now just power weapons. Thane pistols now hit on freeze, sounds as a plasma pistol, which is unchanged. All other guns hit on 4s, so you now have a reason to take pistols. The CXHX charge is heavy reposition, and you can now only do one type of utility grenade, which is just +1 mission action for enemy operatives within a bubble of 3. So it's more balanced. The slow mine is gone. The auto rifle is now 4/5 from 3/4. The plasma beamer is 5/6 from 4/6, but is now piercing 1. The rotary cannon is now 5 dice, but is 4/5 with heavy reposition. The rail rifle is now 4/2 devastating 3 and heavy dash. It's still piercing 2, but has lost damage because it used to be a lot more powerful. I think it was like 5/5 effectively with, well, 5/3 with just more mortals. So it's a lot worse. The Jump Pack Warrior's 8-inch move base. It can still fly with the same restrictions as fly for the Vespid, but it lost its ability to boost. Now just has a power weapon. The Locator can also give Seek Light with Ignore Obscuring action. Its Pan-Spectral Scan also gives accurate 1, but it lost the ability to block pre-game movement, which is good for everyone else, horrible for Hearthkyn Salvagers. The Lugger grants 1 extra equipment choice in addition to its old abilities. The Warrior gains -1 damage taken on objective or mission markers, so that ability is just on Warriors only. Plasma Knives are now only 3 attacks, and you can still take Climbing Gear. I believe this is the only kill team that can take Climbing Gear. So Hearthkyn Salvagers kind of unchanged. They're still good into elites, but that Plasma Knife change makes them a lot worse because now you can just... They're only 3 attacks. No one is 4 attacks, sans the medic, which is good for everyone else. So Hearthkyn Salvagers just technically took some nerfs, but they're still solid. Fellgor Ravagers, Reckless Determination stacks with cover again, ? Fluxblade lost multiple profiles, but can block first, if not frenzied. The Null Scar and Mangler 11 wounds again, ? Pox Bomb works like a stun, but does damage based on the D6 result halved, rounding up. So if you rolled a 5 up, someone would be stunned, they'd take 3 mortal wounds. But if you rolled a 3 up, they'd be stunned and take 1 mortal wound. So the Pox Bomb is better. Warriors ignore being injured while frenzied, so warriors technically have a reason to be taken. Warpaint just stops movement penalties for being injured, but doesn't ignore stun anymore. And this team is weird, so they're very weak to stun grenades, but they are likely to have a day 1 FAQ. I would be very shocked if Reckless Determination still stacks with cover, and I'd be very shocked if the Null Scar and the Mangler stay at 11 wounds. Though this team is ? is likely to get a day 1 FAQ, but at the moment they're still too good. They are completely a roadblock team for 10 wound teams or less. They're just too much of a melee check, which is very frustrating. But otherwise, Fellgor are made out like bandits, but as I said, day 1 FAQ. Very likely to change. Inquisitorial Agents. So just hold on. I have to compose myself because I'm very angry. Okay, deep breaths. We're all good. We're all good. Can still take any archetype. Whatever. Fine. And they lost their piercing restriction. So they're now no longer limited to 1 sort of piercing gun. They can take whatever they like. You can already see where this is going. Where other factions got restrained, Inquisitorial Agents got everything. Because balance doesn't exist when you're playing in Inquisitorial Agents. Bring a suitcase when playing this kill team, by the way. Because of the roster limit, you can now take everything. Every game. You can go like, oh, you know what? I've brought my entire suitcase. You've brought a normal kill team? Sucks to be you. Now face me and my wallet. Breaches are now at 5 operatives instead of 6. But only if you take Krieg do you get 6 operatives. They really need to rein this in. So I like how Nova did it, where you can only pick 2 auxiliary choices for a tournament instead of being able to pick like 6 or 7. Anyway, Quarry now gives Ceaseless instead of Balanced and still bounces. Why? Why on this team? Just keep it at Balance and it would have been fine. It's like they listened to someone who just wanted to break the team. The Tome Skull can resurrect once per game within control range of the Interrogator. So you can throw this Tome Skull away in the open, it will die, and then resurrect next to the Interrogator, because why be balanced on this team? The Autos of Savant caps at 2 CP per turning point, which is a bit of a nerf. I didn't really like this. So if you take the Auto Savant, the second time your opponent uses a firefight or strategy ploy, you get a command point. So theoretically, if they used 4 ploys, turning point 1, turning point 2, if they use the 4 again, you get 4 CP. They've capped it at 2. I think you could remove the cap on that because of how situational it is and it costs you an operative. The Quest Keeper also hits on freeze for some reason. This is the only Power Fist equivalent that isn't a captain to now hit on freeze while also getting ceaseless. This is why I keep reiterating, whoever pushed for these changes did not care about balance, because the Eviscerator on Novitiates now hits on 4s. You could have argued that should have hit on freeze. Power Fists on Space Marines, which are the same weapon, hits on 4s. Doesn't hit on freeze. Only the captain hits on freeze because it's a captain. So for some reason, your Chainsword, your Eviscerator hits on freeze. Whatever. The Enlightener gives 1 command point on a kill in melee, and it can stop people falling back on a 4-up. This is good because I like the Enlightener, but people didn't really take it. Now you get more of an incentive to. The Pistolier lost infinite range on its plasma gun, but it can technically shoot 3 times as per rules as written, because when it does its double shoot with its pistols, it says you can ignore the normal restrictions for shooting. So it basically means you can shoot your plasma pistol, then shoot those again, which I don't think is intentional. But based on how they've balanced Inquisitor agents, they may want that because they don't care about balance when it comes to Inquisitor agents. Scions hits on freeze. So if you take Scions for some reason, they hit on freeze. But remember, you would take Scions because they have 25mm bases, but you take the Kasrkin because the Kasrkin gives you a free dash because they designed Kasrkin to work with Inquisition, which is fine. Everyone can take Kasrkin combat daggers and armored bodysuits. So for everyone with a 5-up save, the first defense dice you can make a 4-up save, so they get a 1 4-up save, which is completely fine. They are the best, most balanced war team. So for Inquisitorial Agents, they are literally the best non-elite team in the game. They are incredibly toxic because if you take Kasrkin, you go Plasma Pistol, Multi-Melter, Melter Gun, and Plasma Gun. So you have 4 sources, which was a proven problem last edition, but whatever. You now get Ceaseless on your Quarry, and your quest keep hits on freeze for some reason. It's crazy. And they get a free dash because they've designed the Kasrkin ploy to also work with Inquisitor agents. And you can bring whatever you want. This kill team is not balanced. It's actually, I think, a danger to the game. They still have their, I stop your CP for I stop your ploy for a command point. I don't understand. Like, my thing is, look, they've reigned in Pathfinders. They've reigned in Novitiates. They've reigned in all the toxic teams, mostly. Except Inquisitor agents. They've just gone ham. It's like, I keep repeating it. It's like they didn't care about balance and listened to someone who just wanted their way, right? That's the vibes I'm getting from Inquisitor agents. Completely broken team. And, elites are very powerful, especially Legionary, but they are mechanically powerful because of how the game works. If you are taking any team that can also be using Inquisitor agents, use Inquisitor agents, because at the moment they are the best non-elite team in the game, and Games Workshop clearly wants you to play Inquisitor agents because they were not good enough. And watch what happens when I get to the next team, Chaos Cult, because even Chaos Cult got toned down, so they weren't toxic. So why have they made Inquisitor agents so toxic? It doesn't make any sense. That's my rant. I'm still upset. Like, it's just very dumb. As I said, if you're playing Krieg, play Inquisitor agents. If you're playing Exaction Squad, play Inquisitor agents. If you're playing Kasrkin, play Inquisitor agents. Just play Inquisitor agents because that's what Games Workshop wants you to do from these rules. I mean, hopefully they get a day 1 FAQ where they're limited to 1 piercing gun, so they can only take like either the plasma pistol, the plasma gun, or the melter gun, or the multi-melter, so they can't take all 4. That would help. Like, that would help a lot, and then restricting them to 2 choices for their, what other teams they can sub in. But at the moment, this team is crazy and literally the best non-elite team because they deal with elites because they can take 2 plasmas and 2 melters, which, by the way, was a problem we realized in the first year of the last edition of Kill Team. But whatever, it's fine. I'm sure it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Completely fine. All fine. All fine. Chaos Coat. I actually feel bad for Chaos Coat, by the way. So they can mutate 2 times per turning point 1 and 2. They can mutate 3 times turning point 3 and 4 times turning point 4 or more. Torments, you can only mutate once per turning point, which is a huge, huge nerf. And you would think it would be because Torments are getting buffed. But if you read the screen, anyway, the Demagogue cannot mutate anymore, but its 2 remaining abilities have 9-inch range instead, which is nice instead of being 4-inch range, so it has more utility. The Iconarch actions are psychic actions, in case that becomes important. The Mind Witch's Infernal Gaze has 5 attacks. It's a shooting attack hitting on freeze, 0/0 damage, range 6, devastating 2, psychic, lethal 3-up. So it's technically a more consistent damage profile, but it doesn't have 8-inch range anymore. Blessed Blades are on 32 more bases now, as per their data cards. Might be a typo, but we'll see. I built them on 32 more bases. And Covert Geysers is D3 Opters instead of 3. That's all their changes. So, Mutants and Torments did not get buffed. Chaos Cults is in a horrible position. Like, I thought they had limited the Torment, like how many Torments you could make, because they had buffed Torments to make them like 15 wounds or 16 wounds like they did with Nightmare Hulks. They're just 13 wounds, and every time they take damage on a 3-up, it's -1. On a 5-up, it's minus damage, -1. So, as I said, Chaos Cult, a very toxic team before, who were arguably okay at the end of season 2, second edition, are now really bad. I think the only way you can really fix this is if you remove the torment restriction from mutation, or you buff torments. Personally, I would prefer buff torment, so I'd probably make torment 16 or 17 wounds. Hell, make them 18 wounds, because you can only have one per turning point. Okay, maybe not 18, 17 wounds. Like, because Nightmare Hulks went from 18 to 20. Okay, make it 15 wounds. 15 wounds with the damage negation, maybe 16 wounds. I'd be okay with 16. And then it would justify the mutate once per turning point. But this is why I said I was really upset Inquisitorial Agents. Chaos Cult, who were a toxic team, have been over-nerfed because of their history. Inquisitorial Agents, who are a very toxic team, have been rewarded because balance is only a dream when it comes to Inquisitorial Agents. But I really feel bad for Chaos Cults. They are arguably Pathfinder tier, which is a tier you don't want to be in. So it's a shame for Chaos Cult. We're on the home stretch, and we're 90 minutes in, guys. So, Scout Squad, they're now 9 operatives instead of 10. For now, might change. Forward scouting has been tweaked. It's been tweaked quite heavily, and I'll leave that for my review. You cannot double shoot the heavy bolter with Astartes training firefight ploy, which is a nerf. The sergeant has the Astartes rule baked in and lost balance on its Astartes shotgun. The hunter now gets bonuses on jump tests as well. So if you want to get your lethal 3-up, you just have to jump because he does a sick backflip. Combat blades are 3/5 again. The sniper has permanent silent and ignore obscuring action that lasts until its next activation instead of during its activation. The tracker has reduced range on its abilities, but still effectively works the same. The warrior gets each warrior can do 1 free smoke or 1 free stun per turning point once each. So if you have 2 warriors, one could do a smoke, one could do a stun per turning point for free, which is good. Bipods now work on both heavy weapons, so either the rocket and or the heavy, which is very heavy bolter, which is good. And then you can take combat blades as an equipment, which gives everyone free attacks with the combat blade profile and makes operatives with combat blades go to 4/5 damage on their weapons instead of 4/6. So Scout Squad, I think they're in a very good spot. If they do go up to 10 operatives, I wouldn't be surprised, but that would probably make them too good. They're still a really good team. Blades of Khaine, Eminent Grace has been replaced as it's effectively built in with Dance of Death that swaps the position of 2 different operatives. Ruthless Poise and Khaine's Vengeance give Ceaseless instead of Balance. The Dire Avenger Exarch Twin Shrieking Catapults are now 3/4 instead of 3/3, so finally Dire Avengers are good. Dire Avengers in general gain accurate 1 when on an objective or mission marker or shooting at an enemy operative on the same, so Dire Avengers in general a lot better. Runes of Prophecy now modify initiative positively or negative by D3 instead of 1, which is a buff. Rune of Shielding works like just a scratch, only a normal hit, so it's a nerf. Rune of Foresight gives 1 CP on a D3 roll that matches a turning point number, and you can keep using it, so very good there. And Wraithmode Talisman works like Purity Seals. Unfortunately, so, you can turn 2 misses, discard 1 to make a hit. Blades of Khaine suck because they got no other changes and they just die to elites. Elites will be everywhere, and elites in general destroy this team. I would like some changes, making Aspect Warriors 9 wounds, making Scorpions 5 attacks 3-up save, and giving Howling Banshees, they ignore 2 inches to their first climb. Baked in, that would be very good for Blades of Khaine. At the moment, they are very, very bad, which is a shame. Nemesis Claw Lost Recon in Midnight Clad works while on Conceal or Engage, so a big buff, not Clade. Return to Darkness replaces 4 Deploy, which is actually quite good. The Visionary can skip an activation once per turning point instead of unlimited times, and Portent only blocks a normal hit instead of just discarding a crit or a hit. So when your opponent strikes, if it's a normal, you can stop it with Portent, but only once. Heavy Gunners also a heavy reposition, and you can't double fire with the heavy bolter, so they're worse. The Screecher stops rerolls within 3 inches instead of being a -1 to hit bubble. Warriors gain lethal 5-up on all weapons versus 7 wound or less operatives, so that's really good. Chain Snares are on every operative and work way better. As I said, on a 4-up, someone can't fall back, and you roll 2d6 if they have the same wounds characteristic or worse. Grizzly Trophy only triggers on a kill within 2 inches and works within 2 inches instead of 3 inches, has reduced range and has to kill to trigger. Flayed Skin stops rerolls of 1 within 2 inches instead of all rerolls within 3. So despite those nerfs, Nemesis Claw are still one of the best kill teams in the game, tied for probably being the best. The interesting thing about the Warriors, the way their ability is worded, it's either if someone has a wound stat of 7 or less, or has less than 7 wounds. So even against like really weak opponents, Warriors are actually quite solid, so you may take a normal warrior instead of a heavy gunner based on the opponent. But Nemesis Claw are still really, really good. It's still powerful interruption team and amazing at hunting Imperial Space Marines. Mandrakes, they lost Seek and Destroy. Creeping Horror cannot be used turning point 1. Chooser of the Flesh lost Reap in melee, so it no longer does extra damage on a bubble in melee, which makes it worse. Weave Darkness is a permanent new smoke. So it makes smoke, but it's only following the new smoke rules, so you can still be shot. Bone darts are rending and are not once per game. Chain snares work like the Nemesis Claw one, so a lot better. They're on every operative, and people can't fall back on a 4-up. Shadow Glyphs gives access to Super Conceal if starting within Shadow. So if you're within Shadow, one operative gets Super Conceal for the turning point until they next activate. Mandrakes are solid. They technically got a bit worse because their leader is -1 to hit. They're minorly worse, but still just half an inch, but still very, very good. A very good kill team with all their interruption ploys. For Hernkyn Yaegirs, Dauntless Explorers is now just a team-wide free reposition, turning point 1, but you must end within 4 inches of your drop zone. You can't open doors during this, so it's technically nerfed in that regard. But you now can do shoots and fights, so you're not limited. All Jaegers are movement 5. It's now Jaegering time, baby. Warlock Negotiation is a strategic gambit now instead of just happening. Hypex Mines now stop enemy operatives mid-action if they move into live mines. The Riflekin is silent once per game but has an alright mobile profile that is still piercing 1. Warriors gain +1 APL until the start of their next activation, or heal 4 wounds when using resourceful points, and because you're always taking 3 warriors at least, warriors got a lot better. Plasma knives are now just free attacks, but for everyone and for every operative. But if you already had a plasma knife, it does nothing, so same as Hearthkyn Salvagers. And they lost climbing gear somehow. The team known for climbing lost their ability to climb, which is very, very strange. They also have terrible equipment in general. But Hernkyn Yaegirs are really, really good in my opinion. One of the best teams in the edition. Then you finally have Brood Brothers. They lost Seek and Destroy. They lost all tactical assets. They can drop troopers to make a strategy or firefight ploy 0 CP. So you can drop, if you don't take 3 troopers in terms of as well as, so you're only a 10 operative kill team, you can get free ploys, which you never do. Unquestioning Loyalty is now 3 inches from 2 inches. Let's get down, Mr. President. The Commander's Coordinate now just selects anyone in the kill zone. There's a buff. The Agitator gives rerolls within 6, so technically a buff. The Demolition Charge is now range free and heavy reposition in addition to all its previous rules, but it lost, it still lost Seek, so it's not that good anymore. The Sniper is once per game silent, and you probably never take the silent. The Patriarch can use Mind Control again if it failed, but it now hits on freeze. Still has Relentless, so it's the only operative in the game that kept Relentless. Primus Conspire is now just only blocked while in control range of enemy operatives, so you don't have to worry about being more than 3 inches away. Covert Guise is just D3 operatives now instead of 3, and everyone can take Coat Knives to be free attacks in on 4s, 3-4. So Brood Brothers are no longer the best kill team in the game. They finally got toned down. The only thing I'd probably say is the Icon Ward's abilities should be 1 AP actions each. But otherwise, Brood Brothers are still very, very good. They're just no longer the best kill team in the game. So for the overview, everything is timestamped. So if you jump to the end, check, every kill team will be listed. So jump around if you wish. Check out my in-depth faction guides and reviews for full breakdowns, because as I said, I will be doing individual reviews every day until they're all done for every kill team. And in fact, today when this video goes live, I'll already have reviews of Legionary and Angels of Death, because one of them is my team. Season 3 teams had minimal changes, mostly generally for the better. Jaeger's got the most change. Unfortunately, Blades of Khaine, apart from Dire Avengers, didn't get any changes and are in desperate need of improvements. Elites, Inquisition, and Corsairs are likely top of the meta, probably with Blooded. I would say those are the biggest winners. Losers would definitely be Blades of Khaine, Pathfinders, and Chaos Cult. While Elites are very, very strong, I would say it's more of the game being too strong mechanically, because there's 3 objectives, how counteract has changed and all of that. Inquisition is the most toxic, overpowered team, as I've already covered. If you want to see my rant, just click the Inquisition part of the review, because I hate talking about Inquisition. It generally gets me upset because it looks like it was done by someone who has no idea about what balance is. But there is a day 1 FAQ coming, so that may change things. For example, I'm pretty sure Fellgor will revert to their end of second edition changes. Scouts will probably go up to 10 operatives because the last 2 balanced data slate changes would have been done before this edition was locked in, and they may keep some of those changes, but not all of them. So I'll be very interested to see what happens with the day 1 FAQ, and if it invalidates a lot of stuff, I'll be very depressed because I've spent almost an hour and 40 minutes on this video now. And look how energized I am. I'm so energized. I was going to show my face, but my face would get in the way of the words, and I wanted to leave the words for the people who just look at images without listening to my voice. But in general, I am quite happy with all these changes. Most toxic stuff has been reined in, all stuff people found annoying, except for teams like Inquisition, because Inquisition are allowed to break the rules. So I appreciate what they've done. I'm quite upset at the Pathfinder thing, but I understand why they've done it. I think Chaos Cult, they definitely hit too hard. Chaos Cult, they can just tweak a bit. But overall, I'm very happy with the balance. As I said, elites in general are just too strong because of how the game works, with only being 3 objectives and the change to counteract. So even if you made those teams weaker, they would just be natively strong because the game is, well, the edition is effectively designed for them. But overall, I'm really happy with balance. It's just kind of like Inquisition is the only danger sign because they just invalidate all the teams that make up them. And Corsairs are likely to be top of the meta, but they're very weird. They're very dice dependent and still very fragile. And I think Blooded are very, very good as well, just because they kind of get too much rerolls and especially Relentless. But that's my overview. Once again, if you watched it all, you are a true champion, and I respect you greatly. And as you can see, my voice is going because I've been recording this straight for so long. But that's pretty much it from me today. Please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video. Did you find it useful? What do you think of all the changes? Do you agree as much as me with all these changes, as well as certain changes? And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate link at Element Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And I'm going to quickly shout out my patrons. So for my adjuncts of the crew, I have Tom, Supercow, Steven, Sam, Nick, Mercenary Q, Mr. Meatworld, Lucas, John Thomas, Graham, Fangzu, Dave Meatsworld, Dad of Golden's, Chris, and then for my veterans of the crew, I have Samja and Ryan, who has a London tournament on the 2nd of November. But that's pretty much it from me today. My voice is tired. I have to do all these faction guides. Like, I'm recording this in advance, but I have a lot of reviews to do. And, you know, I'm very tired. I'm very tired. My voice is about to go. So hopefully I have the energy to keep doing this. But it was fun. It was recommended by my friends, so you have to thank Itan and Charles for this, because they said I should probably do this in case people didn't want to watch all 35 faction reviews. So, but if you did watch all of my faction reviews that have been published and are to come, I'll be greatly appreciated. So remember, no matter what has happened to your kill team in the new edition of Kill Team, there's always a chance to win as long as you can roll a crit.